Hey guys, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch. I recently beat the game, so I wanted to go over my impressions and thoughts with you guys in a video. Now, this isn't going to be anything fancy when it comes to the video. I just want to go over everything, kind of review the game a little bit, give a bit of a score for those who want that from me, and kind of go over what I liked and disliked and opportunities for this franchise in the future. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're going to be starting off with the story. Luigi's Mansion is not anything crazy or elaborate or anything like that. It's just the same type of thing. They go to a mansion, it gets taken over. Luigi has to save the day by getting his friends like Mario, Princess Peach, Toads out of these paintings, and he has to go through each floor in order to do that, fighting bosses, solving puzzles, and just basically getting these little knobs for the elevator, the little buttons for the elevator, and there's all sorts of stuff standing in his way. It's a typical, very short on the story, right? There's not a lot of drawn out cutscenes, or there's no real voice acting. There's just a bunch of like gobbledygook or whatever, the kind of weird gibberish type of speak for each different character. But at the same time, the story is coherent and there is plenty to kind of sink your teeth into if you talk to Dr. Egad, or even if you look at some of the stuff that's happened before. But you'll not be staying up all day freaking looking at cutscenes or anything like that. So it's not that type of game. It doesn't have that type of story, and you should be able to get through everything pretty quickly when it comes to any times that there's text on the screen. It usually goes up and goes down within the next minute or so. It's never really that elaborate, and I felt that that's pretty good for this type of game. If you look at what Luigi's Mansion is, the type of gameplay which we'll be getting into, I think the minimalist story, the whole type of like Mario, pretty much like any type of Mario game, right? There's not really much story. There's not really anything that's really deep, and this game follows in those footsteps. But there is some backstory and lore, since this is the third game in this series. So if you'd known some of the story, what happened beforehand, you'll kind of get some of the references and things that they do have to say. But the story is pretty minimal. This game is about the gameplay, right? So let's go ahead and get into the gameplay, because I find this to be very fascinating with the gameplay. This game is heavy puzzles, right? You have a lot of puzzles. You have a lot of different abilities that you can have that are really cool. So you can use your abilities to not only solve puzzles, but to also take down enemies, take down enemy ghosts, boss. It seems like everything is kind of like a puzzle at times. There'll be enemies that come in with sunglasses. Okay, you have to use your suction to get the sunglasses off, and then you can hit them. And there'll be some enemies that have shields, or they have swords, or you have to kind of dismantle them in different types of ways, or even use like different abilities. You have like the black light in order to kind of reveal what they actually are, or even just be able to find them in the first place. So there's a lot of different abilities that you have that let you just kind of do all sorts of stuff within the world and everything. Now, I think that the abilities are cool, and I think that adding in a lot of that to kind of make it a little bit more action than what we've seen from previous Luigi's Mansion games was a good idea. I love the suction shot. That's probably one of my favorite ones with the plunger or whatever it is. I love being able to slam down the enemy ghosts. And one of my favorite things to do, which is I guess part of the gameplay, is just use the poltergust to just suck up everything inside the room when it comes to like everything to get money and all of that. It's just kind of like weirdly addicting with the HD rumble and like the poltergust. You're just using it to just suck up every single thing inside the room when it comes to just like the different trash and the paintings and pulling off blankets and pillows and all sorts of stuff. And it's just weirdly satisfying for some reason. I don't know why it is, but it's just weirdly satisfying to use that poltergust vacuum and just suck up everything inside the room. So it's pretty cool. I do like that about the gameplay, and it feels good to do. I think that the controls at first were a little wonky for me, but then when I changed it to actually using the gyroscope in the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, that's kind of where I found my comfort range, which it didn't take me too long to change it up. And speaking of controls, I did play the game in multiple different styles. So I played the game in portable mode on the Nintendo Switch Lite. I do not like that as much. I mean, it works, especially if you're going to use like the tilt controls, I mean, it kind of works well, but I do find playing docked with a Pro controller is the best way to play. I also played it with split Joy-Cons as well, and once again, I felt playing with the Pro controller is the most fun and best way to play the game, for me at least. Now, some of you guys might disagree, or you guys might have had more fun playing it a different way, but for me, that was the best way to play it. So if you're wondering, well, what's the best? Should I use the split Joy-Cons? Should I use the Nintendo Switch like portable mode, Nintendo Switch Lite? And I did play it with the regular Nintendo Switch in portable mode as well, and it felt a little bit better than Lite for some reason. I'm not sure why, but at the same time, it's pretty much the same thing. But I would go with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller and docked gameplay. I felt that it played best. It obviously looks best when it's docked and everything, which we'll talk about at the end when it comes to graphics and sound and all that, because Luigi's Mansion 3 is amazing in those departments. But when it comes to gameplay, fun bosses, interesting level design, cool gameplay elements, a lot of different abilities. I had a ton of fun. Gameplay was really cool. Now, one other thing that this game does have is multiplayer, and I played through the multiplayer, and while it's good and you can have some fun for sure, it's not anything that's really going to keep you hooked like a Super Smash Brothers or like an Overwatch or like some of these other games out there, or even other competitive, or sorry, not competitive, but cooperative, because this is a cooperative type of game. I didn't get a chance to play the locals like Scream Park or whatever, but I played the Scare Scraper mode, and it's just like the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon Scare Scraper mode. It's just like that. But the problem with this, which is one of the problems that I'm going to talk about at the end, which is the missed opportunities and everything, the problem is that there's no real incentive. Like, you really have to like Luigi's Mansion or just trying to goof around or have some fun if you want to get into this mode, because there's not really any incentive to do it. What does it give you? I mean, get some more money transferred over, but what does it do? You know, so there's not enough incentive to continue going through these floors and everything like that. But there is multiplayer. There is local multiplayer mini games that are fun, and there's also the Scare Scraper online as well, which you can actually head into the online multiplayer with somebody there. So if you want to do co-op Scare Scraper, where you have somebody with you in the same room and then you play online, you can do that as well. Up to 8 players. You can create lobbies for your friends. It is a good multiplayer. It has the features and everything. No voice chat built in, but there is a built-in messaging type of, like, you know, hey, help me, or thank you, or come over here, or stuff like that. So you can communicate in that way. You just go through and clear floors. You know, just go through and clear floors. Had a little bit of fun, but overall not anything that I'm really going to go back to over and over and over again. Now, let's talk about the graphics, and let's talk about the sound design and everything like that. That's where this game really shines. I think that it's one of the most, if not the most polished Nintendo game out there. And graphically speaking, since they're only rendering like one floor at a time in one room, they really can put the attention to detail and focus on there. It looks phenomenal. It might be the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch, but once again, it's not as big in scope with what they're doing at the time that you're like looking at the screen, right? There's never going to be a bunch of different stuff and a huge landscape like a Xenoblade or like a Super Mario Odyssey or even like a Dragon Quest 11S. But for what it does, it looks really good. Like, you're going to be looking at the game and some people even said, yo, that kind of looks like Pixar quality. Not sure if I'm there, but there were times that I'm like, okay, that is almost there, right? You might be able to kind of put it up real quick. And somebody who didn't know it was Luigi's Mansion 3 might think it is like some type of, you know, Pixar movie or something like that. So the game does look good. The sound design is really good with everything pretty much in the game. How the boos sound, how the ghosts sound, how Luigi is, the footsteps, the sound design, and the music necessarily isn't the best. I don't really remember any of the tracks. I mean, it has some of the classic Luigi's Mansion stuff, but nothing's really memorable from there, but it fits the tone of the game. I'm not expecting Luigi's Mansion to really have bangers like a Mario or something like that, but at the same time, I mean, it fits, and there is some stuff there, and there is some cool puzzles with some of the music in there, and once you get to one of the later floors, there's actually a really fun music part too, so that was cool. Now, let's talk about some missed opportunities and some issues that I do have with the game. I do think that some of the puzzles are kind of silly just because Luigi can't jump, and they can be solved if Luigi could jump. Luigi can jump like in every other game that he's in, then all of a sudden you put a poltergust on him and all of a sudden he can't jump anymore. And even with this burst ability, he can't move forward or backwards. I think that if he was able to move forward or backwards, that would have helped as well. Just overall, just make the game a little bit, like, make sense a little bit more, because Luigi can't jump at all. I don't know why Luigi can't jump. So that's just kind of weird. Also, I think there were some missed opportunities with the suction and the money and all that, right? Because there's this really cool ability that you get that's just awesome. I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but there's this really cool ability, but you barely use it. You get it so late and you barely use it, and there's no real upgrades in this game, and that's the missed opportunity. They could have used all this money that you're collecting, because by the end of the game, I had like nearly $70,000 and I barely used any of it. And the only thing that you use it for are extra like golden bones, which help you if you die. You can use a golden bone and it'll let you restart right there from where you died, and you won't have to go back to your last saved checkpoint. And then there's also to where you can like find booze that are hidden, which is an extra little thing in the game. You can use your money to find the locations of gems, which are worthless. The gems don't do anything for you. And the booze, which are kind of like a little bit of an extra gameplay element because they have like puzzles attached to them. So that's kind of valuable, but the gems don't do anything, yet they're having you collect gems. They're just thrown in there just to be thrown in there. And that's kind of the problem that I have, because you're getting all this money, you're getting all this stuff, and it's really for nothing. It's really for nothing. They should have added in some slight upgrades that you can do to the game that would have made things a little bit more dynamic. And like I said, that one upgrade that you do get from a story part is so cool, but it's so limited. And I'm thinking, man, what if they actually made this game to where there were more upgrades, and maybe they kind of said, hey, we want to put a little bit more into this game when it comes to challenge with monsters, or even like a challenge room, right, where you can use your upgrades and kind of do stuff. So I like them to be a little bit more aggressive with what they do in the next game, because it's a bit basic. They really could have kind of made the poltergust a lot better than what it is, because it's a cool item to have, but it's nerfed in some ways. It's kind of nerfed, and when you played the game, or if you've played the game, you'll know what I'm talking about with that really cool ability late in the game, but you barely use it. There's just not enough, and it's really cool. So hopefully in the future they can kind of fix that and actually make the money worth using. I mean, if you're not trying to just collect gems that don't do anything for you, or whatever the case is, there should be some upgrades to your poltergust backpack that kind of make things better, make combat more cool. You can add some more difficulty in there as well. But that's pretty much my thoughts. That's pretty much my thoughts on Luigi's Mansion 3. I think it's a great game. If I had to give it a score, because I know you guys always talk about, well, what score would it be? Where would it be at? I'd probably go ahead and give it like an 8 or 8.5. I'd probably give it somewhere in between there. That's where I think the range of the game is. I think that it's definitely in the conversation, maybe for some people, for Game of the Year. I have to look at everything that I'm looking at, then kind of say, okay, well, where does it stack up? But I think I do like a number of other Switch games that came out this year over Luigi's Mansion, now that I've played through, beat it, done everything. For the most part, I put 20 hours into the single player. The single player is long, but there is some backtracking parts and stuff like that that kind of pad the hour count, or pad the count of the game, where you're just kind of going through and doing the same thing. I think three separate times, 2 of them with one thing, then 1 with another thing. So it is what it is there. But overall, I did enjoy my time with the game. So I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8 or 8.5, just depending. 8.5, 8. One of those two. It's all good. You guys determine what you guys care what it is. But I do recommend the game. I think that's the biggest thing out of this whole review to know, is that I recommend the game. So go out there and pick up the game if you want a cool puzzle type of action type of game starring Luigi and going through, and if you want to play the multiplayer and stuff like that. So that wraps it up for this review, guys. What did you guys think of Luigi's Mansion 3? Have you guys beat the game yet? Are you planning on picking it up? Are you waiting? Or are you just not going to get it? You're going to watch other people play it? I'd love to hear what you guys think about Luigi's Mansion 3 in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let us know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to the PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.